Hello, hello. Get this off of my screen here. Hello, my name is Cassie Lockhart with Caslin Essentials, and it has been a minute or two since I have been live. I'm returning back from a beautiful trip that the Lord blessed me to take, and got a little bit of R&R while I was away. Got to spend some time with the Lord, got a little bit of sun, and I'm ready to run on, as the saints say. They say ready to run on and see what the end is going to be. So here we go. So today we will be discussing, our topic today is let's talk about our conscious. We hear conscious a lot, the word conscious a lot. We hear subconscious, sub meaning under our conscience. So we don't want to talk about the subconscious because a lot of times, that we kind of make excuses for our subconscious. Like we didn't mean to do whatever we did. We did it subconsciously under our conscious. So today, though, I want to focus on conscious. And I'm going to see if I can get here. I don't know why I have not been able. I'm going to have to master how to see your comments because a lot of times you guys are talking to me and I'm looking down here because this is where my screen is. And hello, Chandra. And trying to see your comments also. And a lot of times I'm not seeing them. So I will get that down pat and master how I can see your comments. So I can start responding to some of them possibly before the video is over, before I go off of live. But let's dive into the topic today. Let's talk about our conscious. Now, I have a definition written here for what the conscious is. The conscious is the sense of moral goodness, of one's own sense of moral goodness in three areas. It's in conduct, intentions, and in character. So it is a sense of moral goodness in conduct, intentions, and character. So I feel like I would do a disservice if I didn't at least bring up three areas that involve our conscious. We're only going to talk about one today because I feel like one is more important for us to center in than the other areas. So when I think of our conscious, I think of that we can be God conscious, we can be self-conscious, and we also can be sin conscious. And if we really sit down and we think about day-to-day life and activities, most of the time we can categorize our actions or our life into one of those three areas. Either it's God conscious, sin conscious, or self-conscious. Now, I know me myself, I've been self-conscious a lot. Sometimes, look, I'll be on here on Facebook Live sometimes and I be self-conscious. Of course, self-conscious is you are primarily concerned with yourself, your conduct, your intentions, and your character. Of course, that is self-conscious. Sin conscious is you primarily are focusing on conduct, intentions, and characters of a sinful nature. And God conscious, of course, is that we are focusing on what? Conduct, intentions, and character of God. So today I just want to take a few minutes and I want to talk about us shifting, our thinking in life to a more God conscious thought pattern. And the reason why is because if we make that shift, life will be so much more pleasant and it will be so much easier. So let's go into this a little bit more. So it said here that conscience is the sense of moral goodness of one's own conduct, one's intentions, and one's character. Now, those are three big words. So let's break these words down. Conduct. What is conduct? Conduct has to do with how we behave. A synonym to conduct would be our demeanor or, like I said, our behavior. So when I say let's try to shift our focus, I'm fine. How are you doing, Pastor? shift our focus, we want to shift our focus to be more God conscious. That means that now what I want to focus on and what I want to think about is, how does God behave? You know, what is God's demeanor? What is God's actions? So when it's dealing with conduct, if we want to be God conscious, then I want to focus on God's behavior. And in a minute, I'm going to explain to you why I suggest that we kind of make that shift and how it can better our life. So then the second thing was our intentions. When we're talking about the conscious, it has to do with our conduct and our intentions. So intentions are this: they are our aim, or they are our plan. Synonyms for the word intentions is our goals and our purpose. So once again, I can be focused on self-intentions, meaning self-goals or self-purpose. I can also focus on sin intentions, or I can focus on God intentions. So when I say focusing on God intentions, what is God's plan for your life? What is God's purpose for your life? Whatever you're going through in your life at this moment, why is God allowing you to go through it? What is going to be the outcome? We already know that if you love God and you're called according to his purpose, which I believe that you are and that you do, then guess what? It's all working out for your good. So if we focus on that God intentions, his plan, his aim, his goal, his purpose for your life. The third one is our character. So with character, that is the mental or moral qualities that are distinct to you. Everyone has different characters, different characteristics. You know, we're all different from each other. But instead of focusing on our self character, we want to focus on God's character. So when I say character, I'm talking about nature. I'm talking about mentality. I'm talking about personality. We want to focus on God's character, his mentality, his nature, and his personality. And like I said, we want to be conscious of these areas and these dimensions and this flow in God. And I'm going to tell you why right now, because I know some of you are like, okay, so that's God. What does that have to do with me? Well, it has everything to do with you progressing. It has everything to do with you being everything that God has called for you to be. Because if I consciously focus on anything other than God being the foundation, it will throw me off. It will throw you off. It will distract us. It will hold us back from fulfilling everything that God has called us to fulfill. So if I focus on God's conduct, his intentions, and his character, if I purpose in my heart daily to become God conscious, then what happens is I begin to understand who God is. Let me tell you, the great thing about understanding who God is when I begin to understand who God is, I begin to understand who I am, because God is in me. When I begin to understand who I am, now I can fulfill the call of God in my life. Some of us, are struggling with fears. We're struggling with our speech pattern. We're struggling with our thoughts. We're struggling with our faith. But if we choose to become God conscious, those struggles will cease. You hear me? They will cease to exist, because God will be the foundation of everything that we do. And once we really tap into who he is, then we'll see a reflection of who we are and who he has called us to be. And guess what? We won't struggle with faith anymore, because it will be a no-brainer to put our faith in God. We will not struggle with thoughts, that we that we shouldn't have, or maybe thoughts that we do have and we act on them, or thoughts that just don't line up with what God has to say about you. God says you're an overcomer, but you have a thought in your mind that says the exact opposite. It says you're a failure. Well, if I'm God conscious and I know who God is and I know that he is in me, then when that thought comes that says I'm a failure, I can immediately reject that thought because it does not line up with what God has said about me. So this is why it's so important for us to make that determination and that transition every day, that I'm not going to be self-conscious. I'm not going to be sin conscious, but I am going to be God conscious. And it literally is a light, it's just a switch that we have to flip in our mind. It's easier. A lot of times we make things harder than they really are. So it is something that we definitely can very easily do. I don't know about you, but I've been in services, church services before, or I've been around saved/spiritual people who have been super duper duper negative. And I'm like, how can you be so close to God, but yet be so negative? And I found that a lot of times when we're like that is because we have become sin conscious. We focus so much on what's wrong. We focus so much on the negativity. We focus so much on, we get the Bible and we open it up and we go to all the parts in there that says, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. That is sin conscious. When you have a whole list of don'ts, and all you're thinking in your mind is all the stuff we think that we're missing or that we can't do, and that is being sin conscious. It's a burden. It's weight. So just shift your thinking to all the liberty that God has given us, to the freedom that we have in Him, the deliverance that we have in Him, the healing that we have in God, the joy, the righteousness, the peace. Everything that we have in Him, all of that is being God conscious. So that's what I wanted to share on today. And I want to challenge everyone. Be God conscious. When you catch yourself being self-conscious, hold on, let me take a minute and talk about self-conscious, because I really didn't say much about that. So when you catch yourself being self-conscious, even in that, just pause for a moment and think about who God is and that He's in you and that He created you, and whatever it is that you are doing at that moment, that self-consciousness, that self-awareness, that it comes upon you. Just think that God has given you the power to overcome. He has given you the power and the wisdom to do whatever it is that is set before you. And just by doing that, taking just that brief second to be like, okay, hold on a minute now. I can do this because the God in me says I can do it. Just that alone, that quick, bam. That's a shift from being self-conscious to God conscious. So I want to give you an example so you can see, I wanted to give you an example just so you can see how easy it is once we purpose in our heart to make that transition. So I just challenge you on today, make that transition. I like to give grow assignments. This is a place where let go and let's grow. That's what we do here, is we grow here. We let go and we grow. So we're going to let go of self-consciousness. We're going to let go of being sin conscious. Forget the past failures, forget the past faults, the flaws, forget about all of that, because the God in us is perfect. He is flawless. We're going to focus on the God that is in us, and we are going to flourish. So your grow assignment is to analyze maybe yesterday or earlier today, things that happened or things that you may have said throughout the day, and maybe take some time to write it down and see those areas where you may have been self-conscious or sin conscious, and make up in your mind that from now moving forward, you're going to flip that switch and you're going to become God conscious. And I promise you, you will see a change, not only in yourself and in your life, but you will see a change around you. People will respond to you different. It will be such peace in your life. You will be amazed. So I challenge you on today. Once again, I'm Cassie Lockhart with Castling Essentials. Let go and let's grow. Until next time, be blessed in Jesus' name.